G'day everyone. It's been a while since I've gotten on here and done one of these chordal breakdowns in open tuning, but here I am. So yeah, this song, Little Wing, the difference between this and the last two breakdowns I've put up here is this song was written for guitar. So there might be a little bit more prejudgment, some expectations of how this arrangement should sound, but for me that's not the point of why we're doing this. Like, I'm not here to try and sound exactly like Jimmy or try to sound exactly like Stevie. The goal is to learn from what they've played to better understand the fretboard, and in this case in open tuning. So I've transferred a lot of that language to open tuning, and I'm going to break it down for you guys to help you understand and maybe give you a bit more insight into how I visualize the neck. So if you're a bit more of a visual person, I have made like a PDF document that follows along all the neck diagrams of each chord and the tablature for all the things that I've been playing. That's available on my Patreon. I think there's a link down below. And also, this is a bit of a shameless self-promotion, I guess, but I wrote a book about mapping out the fretboard in open tuning using triads. And it is very helpful for everything that I'm going to break down today to have a bit of an understanding of triads up and down the neck. So that's available also on my Patreon page. Is there anything else I need to say about that? Yeah, not essential, but it can help. If not, follow along. So, Little Wing, it's in the key of E minor. Actually, one thing before I keep going, this guitar is actually tuned, this beautiful Novo, is tuned down to open E flat, which is the exact same configuration as open E. And that the same thing goes for open D, open C. This is for myself. I know there are other variations, but whenever you see me playing in an open tuning, whether it be open C, open D, open E flat, it's always going to be the same configuration as open E. And all that being said, I still refer to, say, the open string, the open low string, as the big open E string, even though I know in this case it's E flat. It just helps, I guess, keep a status quo across all these tunings for me. So no matter what tuning I'm in, I'm still going to refer to the chords as though I was in open E. I hope that doesn't confuse anyone, but that's just the way that I find it easier. Okay, so I made a few notes over here that we're going to jump straight into the song. So the first bar is all in E minor, and there's the anacrusis, that the bar that leads into the first bar. And it's going to be playing off this triad shape here. And even that anacrusis is off that same shape, though 12 frets higher, and we're sliding down. That iconic intro from Jimmy. Let me just open these notes. It's not opening for right now. Yeah, okay, so that's what I wanted to say about that. The important thing, because there's going to be a lot of movement over these chords, and I think that's one of the goals that you want to take from this, is visualizing the triads while playing other things around the chord. So having a clear visualization of that triad on the neck while we're playing around. So even though I'm doing just I'm playing around in that same area, but still thinking of that triad shape. And there's a little tricky thing in this first bar where we borrow some notes from the A minor. Now this might be a bit of an over analysis of it all, but just these notes here, to me it doesn't sound like E minor at all anymore on those notes. So you could sort of think of it as A minor on E, but like I said, it's a bit of an over analysis and it's just a really quick pass. It creates a little bit of tension and then release coming into this following bar onto the G. You can think of it all over as E minor. It's just that C note there, the flat 6. I rarely ever think of a minor chord with a flat 6 in it. So that's what makes me believe it's sort of borrowing notes from the A minor, that shape here on the 5th fret. So anyway, moving into the second bar, we're heading to the infamous bar chord in open tuning. I say infamous just because open tuning has a bit of a... I guess a lot of people think that's all this tuning is the fact that you can bar across the whole fret to get a major chord. But it's really a lot more versatile than that. But I think you guys already know that. So here we are, barring across the 3rd fret to get this G chord. And that leaves us some fingers left over to play a lot of these hammer-ons and pull-offs. And what I do in the arrangement here is play off that 9th degree on the top string, and then to the sus note, the 4, on the 3rd string. But then you could take this as an example and sort of see all the other available notes across the fretboard, because you have that 9th, you also have the 6 or the 13, the 4 that we just played, then we have the 9 again, 6, and then the 9 again. All while I'm just barring that first chord, and then you can experiment around with these ideas, like now I know I went a little bit out of that bar chord there, but that's just me with my scatterbrain. So the point I'm trying to make is experiment with these ideas. We want to take what we learn from the original and make something new with it, I guess. So following up the next bar, we move up to the A minor. Now there's quite a lot that's happening in this one here, happening over this A minor. So it's important to still always see that triad. We're seeing it off that. So what the actual lick is so it hits the root first, and then it leads us down into the following bar. But I actually see the A minor, but that first lick is a straight up C major triad, which in itself has a lot of information to give us. So C major on A is actually an A minor 7 chord. So right up there, that gives me information. If ever I want to play an A minor 7 chord, all I have to do is find a C major triad and either play an A in the bass, or if I'm playing with a bass player, rely on them. So, but yeah, I could play a C major triad up here, and then an A bass. You have the A minor 7, or find a different place to play the A. Now, also another note is I am playing with a slide on, so I do have to make some compromises. It's not essential to play with a slide, it's just that's the technique that I'm developing for myself, and I'm not going to change. So that's just the way it is. But if you aren't wearing a slide, you're for sure going to have more options for fingering the chords. So yeah, that's just a little side note, playing off that C major. So you can, and that gives us the option, you can either visualize like all this movement off that C minor triad, or off the off the A minor triad, or off the C major triad. And you're going to get a very similar sound, because they're very related to each other. So anyway, so always visualizing that triad, and then this last little lick, the last beat of the measure, is actually anticipating the next bar. Like, I feel like we've already moved to E minor, but we don't truly land on it until we hit that big open string. Because again, that note there would be the minor 6 of... sorry. I am talking out my ass. I meant to say that note there would be the minor 3rd of E minor. So it highly suggests like the 3rd is a very strong note in the chord. So this is just what my ears are telling me. I feel like we've already moved to E minor, but it's anticipating the next chord. Now we're in E minor for this following bar, and we're going to do a similar thing to what we did in the previous bar, is play the major triad. I guess the natural major of the E minor would be G. Just like we saw, the C is the natural major of A minor. The same thing happens for the the E minor. So we have an E minor 7 here with this G triad on top. And we do the same hammer-ons and pull-offs as what we did in that first time we saw the G chord. And you can play around with these ideas again, like... So I'm getting a bit distracted again. It's my morning scatterbrain. So yeah, playing around with that G on E. And now this fun little device here at the end of this bar, having this constant note played simultaneously with the melody. So it's the flat 7 that I'm playing with, I guess, these bluesy notes in the bass. It's just a fun little device to play around with. You can also do it with, say, the root note, so the open E string at the top. I just really like the sound of the flat 7. It adds a bit of that dissonant, bluesy tension to it. And we're going to lead down to the B. Open string there for the B. And this chord here in this bar is the first time we're coming across something that's not really diatonic to the progression, and that's because we're playing it as a B minor 9. That note there. To date, we've been playing a natural C. Now we got a C sharp, so it's still in the realm of E minor, but we've just sort of changed the mode, I would say. But again, this is over analyzing it a little bit, but it's good to know, I find. What else did I want to say about that? It's a little melody that goes with it. The end of the bar, we have a little chromatic descent from B down to B flat, and I play it as a B minor 9. Oh, I said minor. So root 9, flat 3, 5. Nice little voicing here. And we land into the next bar on the A minor. And here's a cool little voicing using open strings on the A minor 9. So we have root, flat 3, then we have the 9, the B open B string. You can play the open E string, which would be the 5th as well. But yeah, it's a nice little voicing that I like to use. And again, with this bar, quite a lot is happening. But just like the first time we came across the A minor, try to visualize that triad, or the C major triad. And we have this cool little descending lick. And this note here kind of leads us down to that G. It would be the 3rd of G. So again, I'll just play that. And I really do see that one off the C major triad. Seeing that clear C major shape there. You see the shape comes through a lot clearer, I find, than that. But the important thing is that you can see these triads while you're moving around the neck. Now, here we have a bit of a Jimi Hendrix trademark, is stacking fifths and then sliding them around. So we're going to play the root note, the fifth, so that's first fifth, and then we stack another fifth on top of that, which makes the ninth degree up here. And then he slides that up a tone, slides it back down, and then slides it down another tone. So that stacking fifths is a really, all of a sudden it sounds like Jimi Hendrix, I find. And you can do little exercises of finding all the diatonic places that you could play these stacked fifths. It really depends on what mode you're seeing it from as well, because obviously that C and C sharp is going to sort of change your view on it all, but all of a sudden it sounds like, what's that, is it Spanish Castles? The other Jimi Hendrix song that he plays these stacked fifths in. And anyway, that's a little tangent there. Coming back to the song, we land on this F, and again, this is the second time we're coming across a chord that's non-diatonic to the progression. That being said, it's still within the realm of E minor. It's just looking at it from a different mother scale, so we've changed mode again, and I sort of think of this F minor coming from the key of C. So it's a borrowed chord from the key of C, but we know that E minor also lives in the key of C, so it's still within the whole key center of E minor. And it sounds friggin' cool. The flat 2 major chord. Which then takes us into the C chord for the next bar. Which I'm just playing with the bar across, with the slide across the entire fretboard. You can play it anywhere else on the neck. But for the sake of wearing a slide, why not use it occasionally? Then moving up to 2 frets to get to the D. And we have this nice little movement again. Try seeing it off the triad. So we're going to change position to play this little descending line. I'm going to base it off this first inversion triad of the D. So if you can see it off the triad, it makes it easier also to transfer to different areas on the neck, say up here. Because I can see it off that triad, right? So it's easier to understand. Always have that understanding of the degrees under your fingers, knowing that's the root of the chord, that's the fifth of the chord, third, root, fifth, root. This guitar, but again, my morning brain is scattered. I'm sorry, I'm just going off on these little tangents a little bit. But so that's the intro to the song, the first head of the song before it repeats itself with either the lyrics or a guitar solo. And having this understanding of the triads up and down the neck also helps any type of melodic or lead style playing that you want to do, because if you can see the chord tones and the available notes around those chord tones, it's going to add some more depth to your soloing and melodic playing, I guess. So I would suggest, once you have a good grasp on playing through the song as I showed it, try experimenting and finding new areas of the neck to play these same chords. You can even take same ideas, say like the ideas we saw on the E minor, and do those same things up on the A minor up here. So like you'd have. So try moving these shapes around, getting used to them in different keys, and have fun with it. So that's the goal, really. We're trying to learn and have fun at the same time. So I hope I've said everything that I needed to say. If you have any questions, ask away. I'd be more than happy to try and help out. Try to spread the word of open tuning and how versatile it can be. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.